In the twilight of the 9th century of collapse, two titans rose in the fractured empire of Americonia, Lord Trumbald of the Golden Tower and Elon of House Iron Link. One ruled with bluster and fire, the other with silence and stars. Their destinies entwined, forged in ambition, tested in loyalty, and shattered by betrayal. Chapter 1. The Pact of the Gilded Table. Year 998. The Rise of Trumbald. The capital city of Americonia, Ivory Spire, had not seen such thunder in a century. From the jagged gates of the Rust Belt to the obsidian coast of the West Reach, common folk and merchants alike whispered of the man who had seized the ivory seat, not with sword or lineage, but with voice. Loud, mocking, and relentless, Lord Trumbald of the Golden Tower had climbed from the guild halls of spectacle to the throne room of emperors. His coronation was not met with bells, but with laughter and terror. Some called him the Jest King, others breaker of houses. But even his loudest enemies knew one truth: he had power now. Among those who watched from afar was Elon of House Iron Link, master of the Stormforge Isles, an elusive realm of copper cliffs and starbound machines. They said his whisper ships could fly, his sky orbs could see the world, and his lightning steeds rode without flame. He was a builder of myths and machines, a man of prophecy wrapped in silence and sparks. Elon distrusted Trumbald. His writings, etched not in scrolls but in starlight networks, had warned of men like him, disruptors who devoured before they ruled. Yet, when the Raven came, sealed in gold, inviting him to the newly formed Gilded Table, Elon accepted. For despite his doubts, he knew that in Americonia, no invention could outpace raw power. The Gilded Table was not what the legends claimed. Beneath its polished marble and sigils of unity, each seat was a trap, each goblet filled with poison and praise. Trumbald welcomed Elon like a brother before a banquet, grinning, arms wide, eyes calculating. "We need dreamers at this table," Trumbald said, loud enough for every scribe to record. "Men who build stars and carry thunder. Men like you, Iron Link." Elon nodded, but said little. In his mind, he already saw the cracks. The flattery, the haste, the hunger. That winter, Elion's whisper ships were contracted to serve the Imperial couriers. The tower basked in the glow of the Stormforge. And yet, one midnight, a cloaked emissary delivered a simple warning carved into obsidian. "All flames seek fuel. The brightest forge often burns its master." Chapter 2. The Exodus of the Green Accord. Year 999, the breaking of the Sky Veil. The empire of Americonia stretched wide and breathed deep, but the sky above it had grown thin and angry. In the halls of the Sky Veil, where emerald-robed keepers tracked the tempests and the melting peaks, a warning had been issued. The great heating was accelerating. The ancient pact between the realms, the Green Accord, signed in the time of wiser kings, bound all great lords to slow the warming of the world. But Lord Trumbald, now seated firmly upon the ivory seat, dismissed their chants as sky sorcery and northern myths. At a gathering before the Council of Realms, he tore the accord parchment in two and cast it into the ceremonial flame, declaring, "Americonia bows to no wind whisperers. We light our forges with coal, not guilt." The declaration sent a tremor through the empire. Many clapped. Some wept. Elon of Stormforge did neither. He vanished. In truth, Elon had seen it coming. From his glass towers in the Isles, he had watched Trumbald surround himself with flatterers and fools, men who mistook rebellion for wisdom and smoke for strength. The final straw was not the burning of the accord, but the mockery that followed. Trumbald called the Skyveil priests weather wizards in robes made of tears. 3 nights later, a flare of blue fire split the skies above Ivory Spire. The Iron Link, seal of severance. Elon had quit the Gilded Table. publicly, in silence, but unmistakably. His message was scrawled in every trade post, echoed by whisper orbs across the continent. The sky is not a hoax. The stars do not negotiate. I withdraw my seal. Trumbold laughed, as he often did when wounded. He paraded a court jester, wearing Elon's sigil, mocking his retreat with clunky automaton limbs. But behind the veil of satire, his ministers panicked. The loss of Stormforge contracts risked delaying the Empire's sky courier networks, and without Elion's whisper engines, the ivory seat would fall technologically behind the other realms. Meanwhile, in the frostbitten halls of Nordvaya, a masked seer approached Elon and laid a single finger on the Stormforger's chest. "He will come to you again," she said, "when the walls are cracked and the shadows close in. The tower always returns to the forge, when fire is all that remains." Chapter 3. Fire and Fealty. Year 1002, the return of the Golden Tower. 3 winters had passed since the breaking of the Sky Veil. Trumbold's rule, once bolstered by populist storms and merchant cheer, had begun to rot from within. The gilded table had collapsed into infighting. Trade routes to the western kingdoms lay pillaged by rogue houses. Even the Red Helms, the king's loyal enforcers, had grown disillusioned, their iron salutes now slow and reluctant. Banished by the high guilds of the East, Trumbold had vanished into the Rustlands. For a time, rumors claimed he had died, devoured by his own misrule, but those rumors died faster than they spread. For in the year 1002, a fire broke across the horizon. Ships of black and gold, his colors, appeared off the coast of the Eastern Reach. Trumbold had returned, this time bearing a new banner stitched with phoenix feathers and embossed with the motto, "The crown was borrowed. Now it is mine." The people of the realm were divided. Some cheered the return of the firebrand. Others shuttered their homes and whispered of civil war. Yet no figure stirred more whispers than the man Trumbold reached out to first, Elon of House Ironlink. From his obsidian sanctum in the Stormforge Isles, Elon had watched the realm burn with cold precision. His Starpath network, orbital steel birds that circled the world, fed him knowledge, alliances, weaknesses. He had grown stronger, richer, and ever more silent. When the missive came, sealed in molten wax, bearing Trumbold's phoenix crest, it was not unexpected. The two met, not in court, but atop the cliffs of Emberhold, beneath the blood eclipse, a sky omen said to herald alliances born in ambition and ended in blood. Trumbold spoke first. "You were right, Ironlink. They hate reformers. They always do. But now we burn together." Elon studied him. Not the words, but the man. His robes were worn. His blade hand trembled slightly, but his eyes, still wild, still sharp. "You built the matchbox," Elon replied. "Don't pretend you didn't strike the flame." They drank star wine that night and forged a new oath, the Phoenix Forged Pact. In exchange for Elion's support, through gold, Skyfleet, and silent machines, Trumbold would return him to the inner circle, no longer as an advisor, but as executor of the realm's future. The scribes would later note that Elon never bowed that night. He simply extended a gloved hand and Trumbold clasped it. No crown between them, just fire and steel. In Stormforge, bells rang. In Ivory Spire, conspirators whispered, "Two dragons now circle the realm, and both have teeth." Chapter 4. The Chainsaw and the Crown. Year 1006, the rise of Doge. The Empire had been reclaimed. Lord Trumbold, once cast out by the High Guilds, now sat more powerful than ever atop the ivory seat. His return had been orchestrated with precision, and with the quiet, unshakable might of Elon Ironlink at his side. To the common folk, their alliance seemed divine, a king reborn in flame, a technolord crowned without ceremony. Together, They promised not just restoration, but efficiency. The bloated ministries, the tangled ledgers, the ancient bureaucracies, they would all fall before a new order. Thus was born the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, its name whispered with awe and unease, and at its helm, Elon. His symbol was a silver chainsaw, gifted by the laughing Chancellor of Argentina, who claimed it was the only tool fit for trimming the limbs of power. Elon did not laugh. He raised the chainsaw before the people, engine roaring like a sky beast, and declared, "From this day, the realm shall be lean, and where it is not, it shall be bled." Ministries fell overnight. Offices burned. Thousands of paper pushers and coin counters were dismissed. For a time, the empire hummed, as if reborn in lightning. But power, once tasted, does not sit idle. Elon's name grew louder in the streets than Trumbull's. When people spoke of reform, they no longer looked to the ivory seat, but to the glowing towers of Stormforge. Market halls erected statues of the Forge Lord, holding the sacred chainsaw aloft, haloed in wires and gears. Some even called him First Buddy, though not all said it with affection. In the court of Ivory Spire, Trumbull's face remained fixed in its theatrical grin, but his eyes sharpened. Behind closed doors, his viziers brought him ledgers, some forged, some real, claiming that Doge's reforms had not saved gold, but redirected it. Whisperers spoke of Elon's growing independence, of a secret faction forming within the guilds, loyal not to crown, but code. At a feast, meant to honor Doge's 1 year of glory, Trumbull raised a goblet and toasted, "To my friend, my executor, my hammer wielder, you have done adequately." The laughter was thin. Later that night, beneath the flickering candlelight of the war cabinet, Trumbull met with his spy master. He held a single scroll with Doge's crest, slashed with a red X. "He thinks he is the Forge," Trumbull said, voice low. "He forgets who lit the first fire." The spy master bowed. "Shall I begin cooling the steel, my lord?" Trumbull turned to the window. The stars over Ivory Spire blinked like 1,000 watching eyes. "No," he said. "Not yet. Let him swing his saw a little longer. A man reveals himself by how he sharpens his blade." Chapter 5. The Sundering. Year 1008, the breaking of the pact. The year of gold had ended. What followed was silence, pregnant and waiting. The whispers that once flitted through court like drunken flies now carried weight. Eyes turned not toward the ivory seat, but upward, to the whisper ships, the Starpath fleet, the eyes in the sky. Elon of House Ironlink had become too large for his forge. The streets of Americonia were still filled with songs of progress, cleaner roads, faster carriages, systems that worked, but the gold no longer flowed. Trumbull's coffers, once swollen from the spoils of rebellion, were bleeding dry. To revive the realm's economy, Trumbull unveiled his masterpiece, the glorious tax decree, a sweeping legislation of coin cuts and spending surges. He called it his Big Beautiful Bill. The realm's elite clapped. The merchants held their breath. Elon struck. From the spires of Stormforge, a proclamation was launched across the Starpath network, delivered to every whisper orb and glowing scribe in the land. "This scroll is a vomitous abomination of debt. It feeds the fire with paper and calls the ashes wealth. I cannot remain silent." The empire quaked. Trumbull, furious, summoned his ministers. "He calls my legacy vomit," he bellowed. His voice echoed through the ivory halls like thunder over bone. He dispatched ravens to the northern outposts, ordering the immediate severance of all Doge influence in court affairs. He also declared that all imperial contracts with House Ironlink would be reviewed and possibly revoked. "He forgets who crowned him," Trumbull snarled. "Now he'll remember what it is to be a subject." Elon did not cower. In the Grand Hall of Guildmasters, Surrounded by a half-circle of allies in steel and velvet, he addressed the realm. Without the forge, the crown would have crumbled. Without my skyships, your armies would have marched blind. Without my gold, your banners would have burned. And now, you would sever me. I am not a tool to be sheathed. I am the fire that built your throne. The sky crackled that night. All across Americonia, contracts halted. Iron Link shipments were seized at ports. The star path went dark for 7 days. Across the empire, food lines swelled, and trade slowed to a crawl. Markets trembled. And then, a final act of defiance. Elon launched a poll across the star path, asking his 220 million followers a single question: should I form a new house? The results were overwhelming, and though it held no legal weight, it carried something more potent: intention. In the smoky halls of the ivory tower, Trumbold received the message. He tore the parchment, bit his thumb until blood bloomed, and whispered, "So be it. He wants a kingdom? Let him try and build one." The sundering had begun. Chapter 6. Wolves at the Gate. Year 1009, the fall of Brotherhood. Americonia stood divided. East of the Black Veil River, the Golden Tower's banners still flew, louder than ever, their rallies roaring with the chants of loyalists. But west of the Spine, a new symbol flickered in quiet defiance, the sigil of a rising star over an anvil, the banner of House Horizon, forged not of blood, but of belief. It was Elion's answer to the crown. Though not yet declared a throne, House Horizon drew exiles, guild masters, and former Doge officials like moths to a forge fire. From the floating city of Astronova, Elion declared his movement a realm without crowns, only creators. His whisper ships flew anew, no longer bearing the Empire's seal, but a crest of steel and rebellion. Trumbold, now deep in his second reign, was not amused. Though he publicly dismissed Elon as a loud merchant with stars in his eyes, he privately grew restless. At night, he summoned his war scribes and stared long into the charts. Every major trade line now touched horizon-controlled skies. Each day, another lord declared neutrality, fearing the wrath of either side. And then came the final spark. A royal audit revealed a cipher embedded deep within Doge's old archives. A message hidden in spending reports, scrawled in ancient machine code. I was the storm. Whether it was a threat or a confession, none could say. But the implication was clear. Doge had never been loyal to the throne. It had been a weapon, and Trumbold had handed Elon the hilt. Soon after, Elon made an appearance via starlight projection at the great amphitheater of Emberhold, standing before 100,000 supporters. "We are no longer servants of a tower built on theatrics," he said. "We are wolves, and the gate is made of paper." That night, 3 imperial outposts fell without bloodshed. The guards simply laid down their arms and switched allegiances. In the capital, Trumbold addressed his followers from the balcony of the Golden Tower. "He who wants the throne must take it. But know this, no star burns forever." He turned and vanished behind the curtain. And so the tale ends where all such tales do, not in peace, but in pause. For as snow began to fall on the battlements of Ivory Spire and wind howled across the Stormforge Isles, one thing was certain: the wolves had come to the gate, and they were not alone. In the shattered halls of power, only echoes remain of the forge and the tower. And yet, in the ash of old empires, dragons still stir.